Hey, today we are going to be talking about amping up your personal power and your presence so that you can become magnetic. So, you've heard the words confidence, self worth, self esteem, maybe personal power, and they may all seem interchangeable. But while they're similar in essence, for me, they're slightly different. And so, today I'm going to be sharing with you the essence of what personal power is, what it actually is, how it can impact both you and your external life, your business, your career, your relationships. And I'm also going to give you a couple of ways to amplify it right now so that you can become more powerful and magnetic. So I can't wait to share this with you. I will see you on the other side. I'm going to break this down today into points and steps so that your mind can get on board with this. I really believe sometimes it's about letting the message wash over you and allowing it to spark something within you. So that is my invitation for you today. So, to start with, I'm going to share a little bit about what I mean by personal power and really what that is, the essence of it for me. I am sure there are different opinions out there, but for me, it's a strong sense of self, a confidence within yourself, but it's really this deep connection to who you are at your core. It's an actual connection to your core, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It's about connecting to and owning the value, your value, the value of you as a person, the value of what you do in the world. It's about your presence and your magnetism. It's how you show up, shine, and are more visible and seen in a bigger way. It really, to me, ultimately is about becoming more of who you are, connecting you to you, and allowing that to then radiate out into the world. So, really, what I'm going to be sharing with you today, as you will see throughout all of the videos I'm going to be doing on this channel, there will be some mind stuff here, but a lot of this is going to be body, soul, and energetic. So, that's a little bit around what personal power is, this essence of what it is. And so, just again, just intuit for yourself what lands for you in this moment. And so I want to talk a little bit about the impact of having a strong presence or a strong sense of personal power, a strong embodied personal power, which again, I will be sharing with you how to do that in a moment. But really, the impacts it's going to have both on you internally as a person, and then how it's going to be reflected externally in your life. So, whether that is a career for you, a business for you, relationships for you, it's going to impact you in many, many ways. So let's just talk about you first, because we always want to talk about or go within first. And then as you sort of shift within yourself, then you're going to see what sort of shows up on the outside. So when you feel connected to your power, you feel powerful, right? You have this sense of feeling strong within yourself, of feeling powerful. You will feel grounded, you will feel certain. And to me, it's beyond confidence. And that's why it's not the work I do is really around amplifying your personal power and expanding your presence and all of that. And it does imply confidence, but for me, it's about an embodied confidence. So it's actually something you wear, you own, you show up, you radiate from, right? It's not a mental construct at all. It's not just about knowing your value and knowing that you're valuable and knowing that you're worthy and all of those things, which are great. I don't know why I was doing this, but it's really about knowing it on a deeper level, knowing it within yourself, within your energy, within your nervous system, within your body. Your soul already knows it, but it's allowing all of that to be felt in a way that feels so good for you. And so I just want to share a little bit of sort of the inner transformation and the words that my clients use around this work so that you get an essence of how what that looks like and what that might feel like for you. And I'm sure many of you are embodying some of this already. And as always, it's about, for me, sharing with you ways to enhance this, to amplify it, to expand, and to elevate it. So this sense of personal power, once we really connect into it and tap into it and expand it, what I hear from people is that it makes me feel like I shine more. I feel more power inside of me. I feel more connected to myself. I feel more compassion for myself. I feel more self-trust. I carry myself differently. I show up differently. I feel more powerful and impactful as a leader. I speak to myself differently. I speak about myself differently. I conduct business differently, and I step into my power consistently. I have changed the way I operate with my own sense of self worth and deserving. I am comfortable with myself as well as creating professional and personal boundaries. Let my level of worth and value has grown incredibly, as well as my ability to see the unlimited possibilities. A positive difference in how I operate on a daily basis, really getting out of my head and really feeling an elevation in everything I do. So these are just some of the internal shifts that can happen when you really connect to this deep sense of self, this deep connection to your core, this deep connection to your personal power. And so, right there, I think you can get a sense of this. I shared a bunch of different ways in which people sort of embody this. And so that there'll be something hopefully here that resonates for you or that you want to amplify within yourself, or yeah, even start to shift within yourself, right? Maybe some of these things you're like, oh yeah, that's me. That's great. I feel I'd have these things, but I don't have these things, right? So just really intuit what it is for you and why you might want to, why you're watching this video, right? Why you want to amp up your personal power and become more magnetic. And so, again, as I said, we always start with this internal piece first. And then once this is sort of shifted within us, of course, the external is going to reflect that, right? That's just a no brainer, right? Once we are showing up, once we carry ourselves differently, once we feel more powerful, once we show up in our leadership more, when we feel more connected to ourselves, we feel like we can shine, we feel embodied in our worth, all of those things, then of course that shows up externally. So, what happens is you become more magnetic and attractive. And so, what that really looks like is less effort and more flow, right? Less pushing and proving, more radiating, more calling in and receiving with less effort and action, right? It's allowing your energy actually to do the heavy lifting for you, which I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so, again, some of the external things that may look like, I'm giving you some client examples and things that I've seen in my own life, and yeah, as well as with my clients. And so, again, just sort of see what resonates for you. So what will happen is you will receive more opportunities to be featured on bigger platforms, right? Bigger stages, bigger magazine publications, TV spotlights, other people's platforms where they want to showcase you, just bigger opportunities. You will, as that embodied sense of power shows up, more income is going to flow to you, and whatever way that looks like, whether you're in a career or you own a business or you're self-employed or you're, yeah, sharing your gifts in the world and being paid for those gifts, you're going to be allowing, having a sense really of an ownership of your value, not only of yourself, but also of what you're offering. And so that's going to look like higher fees. It's going to look like it's easier for you to create conversations, to create sales. It will look like taking bolder actions, which of course, as we take bolder actions and make bigger asks, we have bigger things flowing into our experience. It's going to look like a bigger presence. So as you show up with a bigger presence, you are going to be impacting more people. More people are going to be drawn to you. They're going to want you to be influencing maybe their communities, whatever it is for you. It's going to look like when you have this embodied sense of self and this embodied personal power that you start to create the things that you've been wanting to create, or you stop the procrastination or the tasks you've been avoiding because you now have this sense of self and this confidence and this personal power. And again, it just is, it's like an inner outward, right? So as you sort of fill yourself up, you start to see the external. When you see the external, that buoys you up and makes you want to, it amplifies that personal power again. And so it becomes this cycle and circle. So yeah, it may look like, again, I've had clients, depending on where you are and what you're looking to do, people who have doubled and tripled their business, right? Because again, as you start to show up in this way where you embody yourself, you embody your value, you're very clear and magnetic and presenting it out in the world, things will start to flow to you, right? And that looks like clients, it looks like opportunities, it looks like just different ways in which you can actually expand your reach and your impact and your money, right? All of those pieces. And ultimately, it's about you showing up in a way that you start to speak your truth in a really powerful way. So, those are just some of the things that amplifying your personal power can impact, right? Internally as well as externally. And so, again, I'm just giving you this so that you are kind of clear on why you want to do this, right? Why do you want to amplify your personal power? And so, I'm now going to share with you a couple of ways that don't involve your mind, but I will give you a little bonus to start because sometimes the mind just needs to get this. So I'm just going to give you that little piece right at the beginning, just so that your mind can get on board. So I am going to be going into the body and showing you how to amplify this presence and power within yourself through the body. But to start with, or after, whenever order it feels good for you, if you're drawn to it, my invitation is for you to kind of create some version of a list for yourself around the value, around what you are feel good about within yourself, your gifts, your skills, your education, your training, what you feel your gifts and services offer other people, the powerful ways you've impacted people, maybe testimonials, things like that. And yeah, really the benefits that people receive through what you're sharing in the world, right? And so this is just a way to get your mind on board. And I always say to people, my invitation is to create a list of 3 or 4 pages, right? So this embodied sense of your own value as a person, then you sort of layer on top of that your training, your gifts, your skills, right? And some of that isn't just training, right? One of my biggest gifts is my intuition, right? And that is not trained. It is something I've cultivated within myself, and it is an asset to me, right? And so that is something that not only do I benefit from, but my clients benefit from as well, right? And so I do invite you just to take a few minutes to capture this list of, yeah, your value and all of the ways in which you feel powerful, and just so that, again, your mind can get on board with this. Okay, so that's enough about the mind. I'm going to move on to the body, because what we really want to do, our power center really is connected in our third chakra, which is in our solar plexus. So it's really this place where we have this sense of self, where our power lives, where we take action. And really, if it's shut down, it can impede us, it can diminish us, it can cause us to shrink, it can cause us to question ourselves, to doubt ourselves. And then that, of course, is going to limit our action. And it might even actually repel things from us, right? Because it's almost like our open sign is shut off, right? So it may cause you, again, when it's shut down, to not show up, to not take action. And it's often subtle. You might not even know it's happening, because you might just be like, oh, I'm tired today, or I have a headache today, or I don't really feel like this. And so we won't even question it. But what's happening really is it's this shutting down of this third chakra. And a big part of that is that it's fear, right? We actually fear being exposed, or exposure, or shining really brightly, or putting ourselves out there, right? It's really wired into us. And so I'll be sharing many more videos around shining and showing up bigger, because I love that stuff. So take a look out for those. And uh, really, it's wired into us, right? And so it doesn't matter what level you're at, because wherever you are, anytime you're trying to up level whatever area of life that you're trying to up level, more is going to be required of you, right? You're going to have to share yourself more, and that's going to feel a little bit unsafe, and that's why it closes down. So I just really wanted to give you a little bit of context on why it shuts down, because it does for all of us. And just for you to notice for yourself, if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not taking much action, or if you sense that you're shrinking, right? It may feel like emotional shrinking, energetic shrinking, your physical body may be shrinking, which we'll talk about in a moment. Just understand that this is what's happening, and you can actually do something about this, because we can actually rewire and repattern all of this. So and why would we want to do that? Because if we can allow it to expand, if we can open and amplify it, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to propel us forward. It's going to allow us to feel really confident and powerful in our decisions. It's going to allow us to take some magnetic actions that people are going to feel, and they're going to be drawn to. It's literally like a switch you can turn on and off if you're really conscious of it. And so, as I mentioned earlier, once you can really tap into this and really open this up, your energy and your presence can do the heavy lifting for you, right? So it's, you still have to take actions, of course, and do the things out in the world, but this energy is going to actually do a lot of the work for you, right? And so people won't even fully know why they're drawn to you, but they will be, right? And whether that's in a personal way or in a professional way. So I really want to give you a couple of ways that you can actually tap into right now to open up this energy center, to open up your sense of personal power. Now that you have a little bit of language behind it and understanding it, I really invite you now to kind of drop out of your head and really be in your body, because your body's powerful. And I will continue to talk about the power of our bodies as you sort of progress through any of these videos. So the first thing is open up this energy center. So open up, right? So I'm just tipping it a little bit. This power center here, just below your sternum and above the belly button. So this is really what we're talking about. And we sit a lot, especially in recent times. And what can happen is we can actually collapse in our solar plexus and our belly, which actually collapses this energy center. So we kind of actually crunch down, right? So it's not just about your posture. I mean, yes, well, you can expand your posture, and which I'll talk about in a moment. So that those are good things to do. But just be aware that we are by nature, and in most people's lives, we are sitting a lot, and it's very easy to be collapsing and shrinking physically, and that energetically will make a big difference for us. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is that you sit up tall right now, right? I mean, as often as you can, but sit as tall as you can. Just really allow your spine to be long and your chest to be wide. So you actually want to have some length in the belly. And if you do feel like you're often very forward or on the computer a lot, my invitation is to do even some version of a back bend, right? You can actually do some yoga, Pilates, something like that to do that. But even in this moment, just allow yourself to really open, maybe extend without tension, right? We don't want to be too stiff. And so, and really just understanding this is why understanding where this energy center is, so that you know when it feels collapsed, right? You can tell when you're kind of crunched over, right? And so if you're crunched over physically, you are kind of collapsing that energy center. So just see if you can lengthen that whenever you can. It's why you're given things like power poses, right? Where you just really reach up and open, and there's lots of great talks on power poses. And so all of this is going to start just this opening. And again, your mind might be like, okay, great. How is this going to impact everything? It will. First of all, you're just going to feel better. And again, if you look up the power pose talk, Amy Cuddy, you will understand there's actually sorry, I can't think of the word. Well, not nervous system, but a whole physiological response to this, basically. So you can actually do a little bit more research on that if you want, but I'm just going to share really that opening your body is going to train your body, train your nervous system to understand what it feels like to be open and expanded. So again, even this collapsing is kind of closed, and it's kind of repellent, and it's kind of protective, right? And so again, what happens when our body does that, we actually embody that sort of energy within ourselves, right? And so just by being aware of this, starting to open yourself up and training your body to be comfortable in a place where it is long and wide, right? There's space in it, it's open. Again, just make sure you're not bracing too much to open. So keep it soft, but open. You are, really rewiring your nervous system, and you're actually expanding your energetic field, right? In your energy. So that's the first thing. Number one is really just open it, right? So reverse collapse, basically, is what I would say for this. Second thing I would recommend is to take your hands and rub your hand over it. So again, just in small circles, lightly massage it. You might even want to dig in a little bit, right? So this whole area between sternum and belly button, anywhere in here. So you might want to dig in just a little bit. This can often be very tender. It can be very tight, tense. There's actually a lot of emotional stuff here, right? Sometimes you'll feel like, oh, if you think about it, you hear all these phrases, right? Like, oh, I heard that and I felt like a punch to the gut, right? And that's really where it's going, right? Or it's like there's just these moments where we just are shrinking, right? Or somebody said something that sort of like shut you down a little bit. Again, that's all going in solar plexus, part of the reason that we collapse it, right? And so just starting to, again, first we open it, then we kind of basically awaken it, right? So you can sort of rub it again, like I said, dig your hands into it a little bit. You could even just bring some light to it, which we're going to do in a moment. But just, yeah, just kind of wake it up a little bit. Just be aware of it. And again, if there's a bit of pain, don't kill yourself digging in here, but dig around a little bit, right? Because you can actually release a little bit of this tension through the hands, right? And through your moving around a little bit. And so once you've done that, the third thing I'm going to give you to do that I recommend doing all three of these pieces together. Obviously not hard to do. The third piece, though, is the piece where you're starting to cultivate this personal power and radiancy within yourself, and then starting to send it out into the world, into the external world. So first, I want you to imagine a big ball of light. So if you can close your eyes, great. If you can't, no worries. But in that solar plexus area, that whole area that I was mentioning, so, maybe just slightly smaller than a basketball or basketball, something like that. And just to start, I want you just to notice how bright it is for you right now or how vibrant it feels for you. Always without judgment, right? We just actually want to notice where we are in any current moment. So again, just do a quick check-in. Is my spine long? Is my chest wide? Are my shoulders relaxed? Right? And then how big does this ball or spark feel for you? And so I just want you to start by imagining this ball or this spark, if that feels better for you, growing as you inhale. So just allowing it to get a little bit bigger and brighter. And then as you exhale, to allow it to settle into your cells and your nervous system. Okay, so again, you are just inhaling and expanding your belly really, or just imagining this yellow ball getting bigger and brighter. And then as you exhale, just allowing it to settle into your cells. Let's just do about 6 or 8 more of those. You can do this at your own pace. And I do invite you to close your eyes just because it allows you to drop out of your head. If you're an expert at dropping out of your head and you can keep your eyes open, great. It's actually a little more advanced to be able to sort of do all of this with eyes open. But if you find yourself getting distracted or your mind wandering, just nod your chin to your throat a little bit just to drop out of your head and close your eyes. So a few more times, just allowing this yellow ball, yellow spark, yellow energy to grow a little bit bigger, light, whatever you want to feel or call it. And I do just want you to, so each exhale, you're sort of letting it settle and just notice if you have a tendency to shrink as you're doing this, right? This is deeply wired in. And so even though you're not actually doing anything in the world right now, you're just doing this within yourself, our bodies have this wired in, this shrinking and this tensing, right? It's actually very deeply wired, which I will share, I'm sure, in future videos. So you want to practice this often. So again, no judgment of yourself, but just notice if you're wanting to shrink a little bit and see if you can expand. So just finishing up with a couple more breaths, feeling this yellow ball of light, this sort of essence within you, this brightness, it's power. This is your power center. And yeah, maybe it's coming outside of your physical body. Maybe it's starting to fill out, a few feet around you. Maybe it's starting to fill out the room around you. So we don't want to, you can allow it to get as big as it is able to get, or you're able to get it. But you don't need to force it, right? Bigger, you don't have to make it be huge, right? We just want it to expand and actually get your body and nervous system comfortable with this, right? So sometimes when we go too big, we can contract. So you intuit what's right for you. And again, you could leave it at this for right now, just really practicing and cultivating this within yourself. But if you'd like, just for another moment or two, you can actually start to radiate this energy outside of you. to other people, to potential clients, to opportunities, almost like an energetic invitation that you're sending out without attachment, but just sort of connecting to the sense of self, to the sense of power, becoming magnetic within yourself, magnetic within your field. And then you're just sort of, sharing it out into the world because, yeah, we do want some outer world. We want to feel great, but we also want some good things to come back to us as well. So, again, if you haven't closed your eyes, I would just invite you to do this just for these last few minutes. Notice your magnetic field getting brighter and bigger, especially in that belly area, which it is not often doing. Allow your shoulders to be back and relaxed, and just feel this within yourself. Just feel yourself getting bigger, feel your presence getting bigger. And then I just want you to imagine yourself now doing something in the external, like having a conversation with someone. Right. Maybe you're asking someone out on a date. Maybe you're asking for someone to pay you more. Maybe you are asking for an opportunity. Maybe you are sharing your work or your offering. You're doing a sales call or a consultation. Maybe you're doing a talk or an upcoming presentation. Maybe you have an audition coming up. Maybe you are doing some outreach that feels a little uncomfortable, feels a bit bold. So I just want you to pick something. You can kind of combine a few things together, but really just to simplify it, pick something that you're really wanting to call in right now. And so just feel or see yourself doing it with this energy of personal power, with magnetic frequency, like with magnetism. And just notice that it's going to feel different than it normally does, right? So when you are even when you're thinking about doing some of these things, this is going to feel different, right? If you really tune into it, you might not be able to articulate it, and that's okay. But as you're expanding your field and your personal power, it's going to feel different doing these things. And so just take a moment, and if you want to pause this and extend it a little bit longer, feel free to do that. Well, when you're ready, I will invite you to open your eyes, and I want you to see if you can keep this feeling, this big expansion in your belly, this ball being lit and on, your body being open and relaxed, this deep sense of connection to yourself first before extending it out into the world. And my next invitation for you is to use this process before your next, whatever it is, before your next event, before your next podcast, before your next summit, before your next presentation, before leading a team building workshop activity, somewhere where you are putting yourself out there and there's a sense of being exposed, a sense of maybe some fear, right? And maybe a bolder thing that you are going to do. Play around with this power center, this personal power. Do it first. You can do it during, right? But I mean, I would do it before, right? So you kind of walk into the meeting like this, you walk into the conversation like this. You can continue to expand it as you are interacting with other people. And just notice what happens for you, right? Just notice how you feel internally. Notice how other people respond to you. Again, we're never looking to you will get immediate results, but just notice, be open to putting this out there. It does take some time to cultivate, to practice. But as you continually expand yourself, again, you are going to feel all those things I mentioned at the beginning, this sense of self, this sense of groundedness, sense of power. And as you continually do that, this embodiment of your worth, this embodiment of your confidence, this embodiment of your personal power will start to call in and attract and magnetize a lot of external experiences and opportunities that you're wanting to call in. So I hope that you have enjoyed this. There are a number of videos that are going to be related to this. So there's the personal power meditation that I have mentioned in other videos, which just sort of does this, but a little bit more expanded, a little more extended. As well, I'm going to be sharing a few other ones. And so you can look out in the comments below, and I will link you to a couple of other videos that will allow you to expand this and actually start to shift you into not only embodying this and sharing it, but sort of tapping into even more radiancy, more magnetism, and more shininess, right? And so that's look for that. That's going to be in upcoming videos in the next couple of weeks. So take a look for those. And as always, I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. So take a look for that. And I'd love to have you on this journey. I think it's really fun to have you here. Feel free to leave any comments, any insights. I always love that. Anything you would like to have more growth around so that I can weave it into these conversations. And yeah, I can't wait to continue along this journey with you in the upcoming weeks. Have a great day and really have fun tapping into this personal power. Don't take it too seriously, but do it, right? This is if you're called to this, there's a part of you that wants to expand more. There's a part of you that wants to elevate. There's a part of you that wants to shine and radiate and magnetize and all of those things. So just play around with this. Again, try the personal power meditation if you haven't done that already. It's in the meditations and guided section below. And just notice how it feels within you. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what shows up for you.